There are very few things in the world that are absolute, except for this. Julian Assange is a journalist. Julian Assange deserves the protection of the First Amendment and this thing that we call here the Constitution of the United States. Moreover, in a 2001 case entitled Bartnicki against Vopper, the Supreme Court absolutely stated, without any hesitation or equivocation, clearly and with limpidity and pellucidity, expatiated and limned the following: that if you are a journalist and you come into possession of something that might have been stolen, trespassorially purloined, taken from someone else, and you did not instruct it, coordinate it, cause it to occur, you are covered by the First Amendment. Look no further than Ellsberg, the Pentagon Papers, New York Times, Washington Post. They are Julian Assange. Let me try this again. They are the same as Julian Assange. Julian Assange, if you hold any reverence or any status to those tabloids, those newspapers, broadsheet versus tabloid, I guess. But if they mean anything to you, Julian Assange is 100% exactly in the same category as those two. Let me say this again to you, because I don't think people understand it. Julian Assange is a journalist. Years ago, someone asked the great Roger Ailes, who founded and created Fox News when it was good. They said, do you think that journalists should be licensed, or should they require, do you need a license to be a journalist? He says, no, you only need a license to cut hair. Julian Assange is a journalist. And under the First Amendment in our country, he is entitled to be protected were you to try to charge him criminally here. Now, what's interesting to note is whether he engages in his journalism from Australia or the UK or Peru or Machu Picchu, it doesn't matter. The point is, our Constitution protects him from being prosecuted by virtue of the First Amendment. Now, the United States government is far smarter than to be confounded or flummoxed by this. It says, no, he's not a journalist. He is a spy. He's created or committed espionage. That's what this is. He's not a spy. Excuse me, he's not a journalist. He actually is using this. He is making the United States vulnerable. He is providing information that could endanger human lives, American military lives. He is actively acting as an agent against the United States. Throw into the mix the fact that he's kind of creepy to some people. He ain't from around here. And he keeps getting away with murder. And he keeps seeming to know more than we do. And he keeps talking about this stuff like I'm a journalist. Well, you know what? We don't like him. The next thing you understand, as is seen in the case of murmuration, the way birds swarm, starlings in these configurations, this is the way the American press act. This is the way they act. They move and they sweep and they cross and they fly in tight patterns together in lockstep in this combination. And whether it's Israel or Palestine or Iran or anything, it acts the same way. We did it with COVID. We did it with masks. We did it with lockdowns. We do it all the time. So like a bunch of barking dogs and sock puppets, we are told who the bad guys are and who they are not. And when we are told that Julian Assange is a bad guy, for reasons I don't understand, but he's a bad guy, we will say, okay, we're going to move in lockstep. And that's it. Because in our minds, we cannot, when I say our, the U.S. press in particular, we're unable to extrapolate, to move beyond the realm of the ordinary and the usual. We cannot see how something is in fact covered under a provision of law when it doesn't necessarily appear to be, or appear to be, that prototypical classic newspaper. We've had the hardest time, when I say newspaper, I'm using prototypical, archetypical press. We saw the same thing, and we still see it with social media, with streaming platforms. The most important social media person in our country, I can't say the world, but certainly in this country, and let me just go a step further, not social media. The most important media person in this country is Joe Rogan. Now, Joe Rogan looks nothing like Eric Severide. He doesn't look like, like Irving R. Levine. And that's fine. It's a new time, a new epoch, a new era. People didn't understand that the Beatles were music, that they collectively were a new form, a new iteration, a new aspect of popular music. Tell that to the Brahms squad. This is part and parcel of our obstinacy, our inability to extrapolate and to see how things change and how they are changing around the world. So let me just say something. If you are we'll take the Bartnicki case. If you are a journalist and someone comes to you, and that person is, let's say, Daniel Ellsberg, one of the biggest fraudulent stories of all time. The limited hangouts of limited hangouts, but we'll talk about that later. But the way the official narrative is portrayed, Daniel Ellsberg came to Washington Post, New York Times, and said, I've stolen this information from the Rand Corporation. I've stolen, I've taken, I'm an independent contractor, kind of like Snowden, and I've stolen these. I have. And irrespective of his motive, because I think the war is wrong or whatever, but I'm giving them to you. Come on. Nobody from the New York Times, Ben Bradley was not arrested. Why? Because those are the press. No, it's not. They are journalists, as is Julian Assange. I'm going to say this again and again. And if you don't understand this, Julian Assange is a journalist. Alex Jones is a journalist. Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, go down the list. This is critical. And in conclusion, the very fact that these rat bastards, these American journalists, these cowed, scaredy-cat, impuissant, feckless, gutless, atesticular, gelding, ballless twits, these benighted moonbats of our journalism squad, the fact that they weren't themselves saying, wait a minute, he's one of ours, and we are one of he. I don't understand. I will never understand. My friends, follow me, subscribe to this, like this video. You know the routine. And more importantly, I want to know, what are your thoughts? What are your comments? And comment, I beseech. And I ask and I import you, and comment as you see fit.